Three, two, one. I think we're live. Oh, it hasn't caught up with the. It's. We're live and it's catching me sit down right now.
Oh, wow.
It's behind. Welcome to Corner Comics, everyone. This is your weekly comic book reading club. So we pick 6 issues of the week, single issues, old, new, everything in between. Sit down, talk about those books, and just try to find stuff that maybe we haven't read before, stuff that we think the other people might like. I'm joined by Walrus Russ. How you doing?
I'm doing better every day.
That's good to hear. We were going to have Emmanuel back on. Unfortunately, he had to cancel last minute, but 2 of the books are his pick. So we're going to include those because we did actually take the time to read those books. And he did make some comments in the show notes, so we'll include some of his comments, even though he might not be here to elaborate on those comments. So do you have the Google Doc in front of you?
I do.
I'll give you the honors of running down all the issues if you'd like.
All of them.
All of them.
Oh, okay. So then let's start with yours. The first issue we have is Tales from the Dark Multiverse, The Death of Superman. Am I elaborating on the title or just doing the titles here?
We can just do the titles for right now, and then we'll go
All
into
right.
the individual ones.
All right. I also have Uncanny Avengers Annual #1. This is a 2014 book. We have Catalyst Prime 7 Days #1. We have Female Furies. It's a DC book. #1. We have Invincible #1, which you kind of would like to think everybody knows, but if not, you'll know after this.
Yep.
And we have Animosity #1 from Aftershock Comics. This is a 2016 book, but I do believe it's ongoing.
Yeah, I think I saw quite a few issues in that series. Also, the first time I've ever heard of Aftershock and that book.
You and me both.
Also, the first time that I've heard of Catalyst Prime and Lion Forge Studios?
Yeah, I have more of a conversation on that when we get into the book. So I'll save that for them. I've been following Lion Forge for a bit.
Cool. All right. So getting into it, I guess we'll start with mine because this sort of segues into what we were talking about before we went live, talking about book sales and Marvel versus DC and the movie spinoffs and all that. So Tales from the Dark Multiverse, I actually picked this up.
Wow.
Let me show you something here because this is different than most other books. Look at how thick that spine is.
Oh, that is nice. Okay, it's like
it's like a
did
mini.
It cost more? Did it cost more?
Yes, this is the problem that I'm having. So I picked it up because it was a beautifully put together book, but it's $6 and there's no digital code in this thing.
No, it's DC.
Right? Like, what the hell is DC doing, man? Not putting in digital codes, not charging more and doing these special spines.
They're not. They don't seem to have a conversation of you going online and reading their books the way that Marvel does.
Which I don't understand because so Marvel, the regular issues are $3 or $4.99, something like that. They're like $5 a book, but you get that digital code. So for me, it's worth it because I can buy 1 or 2 books that I want to read for the week, and then I get that code, and I have the issue that I can put away in my collection, and I can also pull it up on my computer and read it if I would like. DC, Image, Dark Horse, nobody else is doing that. The books cost virtually the same.
Marvel marketing is the winner. They just are. They're hitting you everywhere. They're doing well across the board. Movies, television, even their fights over Spider-Man are front page news. Marvel, like I said, their marketing is killing it. How many, I can't go into a feed without hearing something about something happening with Marvel, whether it's the movies, TV, something.
Right.
Uh, DC's just not operating at that level, at least marketing wise. Uh, but
Now,
we'll see. Go ahead.
you've been all digital for probably 15 plus years, right?
Yeah.
Because I
Yes.
remember going over to your house and you had the elongated monitor. You bought the special monitor that you could flip to the side just so you could read your
Yes.
comics
Hmm.
back in the day. And I was thinking about, I was like, okay, most of these books, like this is a nice put together book, right? It's
Yeah.
the cardstock on for the cover and everything. It's nice, glossy. The pages on the inside are well printed. It looks good. But would you go back to buying books in a store if you could, if it was $1 an issue?
Oh, if it's a dollar an issue, yeah. Because spending $20, I could read, for how many weeks? This
Right.
was I when I was buying books as a child. Uh, I remember when it was still only 35 cents on. All right.
Yeah.
So for $1.05, I got 3 books. And I was like, well, if I got $20 to spend for the week, I could read and might not even finish all my books before next week's comics comes out.
Right.
So, I wanted to buy them all. I wanted to read them all. There was no price now is a barrier,
I think so
right?
too. I think it's, if,
Kids are not getting, that kind of allowance to be able to blow on these things,
right.
right? Even, I mean, you got to figure even CD sales have suffered as a result.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I had to stop buying comics. It wasn't until after we bought our house and I was like, okay, I'm set again. I started
Mhm.
investing in comics. Um, but yeah, like why are they printing it on this type of paper? Like print it on shitty pulp paper again. Give me
Well,
$1 a book
no
and
one wants to. No one wants to drop the quality. I don't. No one wants to be the one that drops the quality.
it would shoot up the value of books though, because now
What's that?
they would they wouldn't be as durable. So you'd have less on the market, right? People would be
Hmm.
more inclined to buy them and throw them away. So the people that
I
did hold
also
on to
don't.
them,
I also think that. I also think that comics has had an adjustment, sort of in the world as to what their value is, because a lot of this. I was watching sort of some people being interviewed. I don't know if you know the Roots, but uh,
yeah,
Black Thought and the drummer guy, I can't remember his name, have a show where they are sort of talking about sort of the mainstays of hip hop. They talk about how you show this old school hip hop to the youngsters and they think it's garbage. And he said part of that is because you didn't really preserve them. No one is preserving the value of it in the world. No
okay,
one is, you know what I mean? No, there's no so comics, when you look at your Overstreet guide, the comics that I bought back then that should be worth millions,
right,
right, are worth $3. A lot of them. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
A lot of those books that were great at the time, over time they should have appreciated, but comics don't appreciate like a house, right? So if you have this old, it's nice. It's nice for you in your heart to have all these wonderful books that moved you as a child, but the world doesn't value comics the same way. The world values the digital conversation, right? The throwaway thing. If you could read comics, if I could get comics as soon as they come out and read them digitally like Netflix, there was a Netflix of comics, I would pay for that. A lot of young people would too.
yeah.
And they would read things that they normally wouldn't read because they've already paid. So Netflix causes me to see movies and shows that I normally wouldn't watch or care to watch. But Netflix has presented them and I've already paid them my money this month. Uh, so we need a Netflix of comics, I think. I think digital is the way to go because I know people that are trying to have their entire digital footprint from their phone. They don't want to buy laptops and PCs. They
Yeah.
want to be able to do everything from their phone. At worst, they want to connect their phone to their TV and that's it. So if we can't go digital, I understand the quality of print and the value, but I was raised in the print era, right? I was
Yeah.
raised on
Yeah.
comics in the print era. Uh, when you and you know, yeah, it can't be kids that are buying most of these comics. It's got to be older people that are buying most of these comics, right? How many kids really are trying to see what's up with Batman? Every kid knows Batman's story. Every kid knows Spider-Man's story.
Right.
I so you and I value them, but if I buy a graphic novel today for, let's say, on sale for $12 or something like that,
Yeah.
10 years from now, it will likely be worth less than I paid. It will likely not appreciate.
No.
So what is the real value of printed books then?
Well, that's a good question. I think the print market is moving more towards the graphic novel style.
Yeah.
I think that's where the most of the sales are happening, right? People still buy Killing Joke. People still buy Watchmen. People still buy V for Vendetta, right?
Mhm.
And isn't that how you normally read physical comics these
Yeah.
days?
Yeah. I'll go sit in Barnes and Noble with a latte, right? Put my feet up and then grab three graphic novels and make a whole afternoon of it.
Right,
Right? That's a good week. That's a good time out on a date with myself.
right.
And then come home with all this stuff in my head. The same way I used to go and see movies as a kid early in the morning because it would set my day off.
Yeah,
Uh, but otherwise, they take up space. You got to buy bags and boards. You have to do all of this. And then at what point, when you have an entire room full of comics, do you justify that paying rent on that room to the significant other?
uh,
And let's be truthful, it's not often that we peel them off and look at them again, but if they're digital,
yeah,
you might go jump in and read them. I think digital is the way to go. Print is a nice thing to have.
right.
And even in the gifting, I could gift a graphic novel. Gifting a single issue just doesn't really work because then you're really compelling that person to go buy another, right? But
Yeah,
if I gift a graphic novel, I give them a whole story. I say, here, you would enjoy this. Here's the whole story. And they come back, you're right, I did. And they may or may not get in the comics, but it's a gift that is complete.
okay.
So yeah, I think the $6 comics, you can go get those real big ones and get the kids. Remember those real big comics like,
Yes, yeah,
Treasury, whatever, that was a whole bunch of reprints and one new story.
right.
And you can gift those to kids. And I think Walmart is doing those now. DC has started those sort of thing and doing them in Walmart now. So you
Okay.
can get those specifically there. But the day of, what's the common price now? Because I'm not paying it. You are.
It's $4 or $5 depending. So it's like
Yeah,
$3.99 for most
right.
DC Image books, and then
So are you going to try something new at that price point?
yeah. Well, I mean, so yeah, it's part of the reason I brought this up. So like the quality of this book was what got me to buy this and check it out, and partially because the Tales from the Dark Multiverse, the Nightfall issue, so the one before
Mm-hmm.
this, got pretty good praise, and it was a good story. Um, but yeah, it's sort of like in between. It's a longer comic. It's a full, complete story. It does play on stuff that's happened in the past, so you do have to have a little bit of lore knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's like in between. It's not quite a graphic novel. It's not quite a single issue,
But it is a complete story.
but it's a complete
You
story.
don't you,
Yeah,
you don't have to tune in later. You don't have to buy another book. You get your full meal in one sitting.
yeah,
So a complete story can work. But then, of course, you can't get people to buy these things monthly if you just have complete stories. You need that's what TV does, right? They have the evil of the week, but there's also a larger thing that they have to fight that keeps you in that long conversation and keeps you coming back.
right.
Uh, and so I think I understand that the price of creating a comic is more than it used to be. You got to pay these artists, especially the good ones. You got to pay these writers, especially the good ones. You
Yeah,
got to put it on stock that will survive the shipping process, right? Someone does have to color them properly. All these things, I get it. The price of all these things has gone up. but the value of the finished product, the actual value, and I think sales will show this, it's not what it was.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite match the price. Only people who were already into it sort of stay in. Now free comic book day is a nice thing, and I think free comic book day is a good idea because you can bring young people in, right? And say, here's a book.
And
It doesn't cost you any.
and
Go ahead.
I do see the young kids showing up for that, and people, bringing their kids to try and get them into comics.
Mhm.
But it's a free book, and the shop has to bear the cost of that, which sucks.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Uh,
they buy the books, so the books themselves are not as expensive as a normal comic because it's
mhm.
typically shorter. It's not as many pages. And the publisher's not doing anything super special for these issues. But yeah, the shop has to buy their stock, and so a lot of times it's, hey, limit one per customer or whatever, just because you've only got so many.
Well, then the next challenge is, how is a comic book shop supposed to survive at this price point?
Yeah.
And a lot of them are doing inventive things. There's a comic book shop I go to out here in Houston where they have a meetup group, and you come in, and they're usually like 10, 15 people there. People bring pizza, whatever, and it's
Yeah.
after hours. And you come in and you've read the two books that were decided, last month, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then everyone wants to go out into the shop, find a book they want to pitch, and then pitch the book to everyone in the group. You need to read this and why, right?
Right. Right.
And then everybody pitches their book, and then there's a voting where you secret ballot voting, and the top two win, and we
Nice.
have to read those. And if you don't have that book, the shop will provide it or order it because it doesn't have to be a new book. The
Right.
shop will make it available to you, and then we have a Facebook page and online, and then all of that, and people really get into it. Uh, but you have to do something that creates community because really it could be just these dark computer nerds sitting at home that really only go out to pick up pizza and comics,
Yeah.
and pizza is deliverable. So uh,
I think that's a nice segue. Should we get into the books that we've chosen for each other to read?
yeah, you want to start with the Dark Multiverse book since we sort of
Yes.
leaned into that.
Yes. I'm curious. What are your thoughts on this
You want
book?
to ask me first?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm cool with that. Okay, so let's start with what I like. I like the look of the book. I like the story. I really have nothing negative to say about the book other than the price point.
Right.
And we don't really have to lean into that. But I like the story. It makes me want to talk about it. And I don't, uh, without giving the picture what it is, uh, it's kind of hard. But there's things that Lois Lane did, the choices she made. This is a dark multiverse. This is where people made bad choices,
Right. Right.
or where they weren't quite as good as we thought they were. And I think it like Lois, was she ever down with Clark in the way he saw the world? I mean, was she really faking it just because she loved him? Was she
That.
really, you know what I mean? Is Lois really cynical? Is Lois really Batman with the pen? You know what I mean? Is she really hateful? Is she really think people are evil and need to be stopped? But she's going to use her bat pen to stop them. And then as soon as Superman's not there, she's gonna, you know what I mean? Okay, Superman might come back. Let me act right. I don't know. And there's the question: is she really down with him? And this book put that into my consciousness.
Right.
Uh, I enjoyed the book. I would recommend it, especially because this story is very much out into the world. Everyone pretty much knows the death of Superman. And there's even been two animated movies. They did a Death of Superman animated
Oh.
movie, and then DC did another one recently, like this year, and then even did the Reign of Superman that came after. So there's two video movies to retell this story.
Right. Right.
So obviously they want it told and out there. And the Death of Superman, I remember it was in the papers.
Oh
It was
yeah.
all over the web, right? So the good thing is that everyone has a conversation about it. Another thing is the art reminded me of the original art from the series.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same,
No.
but I felt the same way. I felt like it was just taken from that and almost, it could even be some of the panels where it's exactly the same taken from that book. I know they weren't,
No.
but I do like, if you liked it and if you remembered that story, uh, uh, this didn't take you out of it.
It's kind of
This,
a yeah, it's kind of a theme for me, I guess. The DC books that I do like have that 90s quality to the art and the way
yeah,
that the
yeah.
panels flow and stuff. Um, I'm not familiar with the writer or the artist on this book. So that was a nice surprise. Um, how do you feel about it being set up like a what if story?
Well, in theory, and I like the idea of what if. I always have. That first what if always excited me. Even when Marvel's doing them, I love a good what if, and I love that it is a universe that actually exists out there, right? Like these people. Here's this crazy thing about this dark multiverse book or this series is these people can actually be brought into the main universe,
Okay.
right? The Batman who laughs is from a dark universe,
Right.
right? And even in his own book, he was bringing Bruce Wayne's that had made bad choices into, I don't know, you can't say 616 because it's DC. So what I like is also different about it, as what would not as much happen in Marvel, is that this Lois could show up.
Okay. The Lois Eradicator.
Yeah, the Loisicator, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of not only are they there, but they're not far away. They're not just in some pocket universe that you can revisit 10 years later when you go back and read the book. They can be brought, they are part of the parallel universe continuity.
Okay.
All these people can show up again.
All right. Yeah. Um, I don't know if you said this on stream when we were live or if it was after or before one of the shows that we did, but you're you're talking about you're like, Matt, why don't you just let people play with the toys? Let them do their own thing, not be so mad about it. And I got to thinking about that. That's part of the reason that I picked this book. So I picked it up
Well,
at the shop, looked through it, and I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to spend the money on it. And then I heard your voice in the back of my head, Matt. Just let the people play with the toys. And I was like, God damn it, Russ.
well, thank you.
So Lois Lane, like, I'm just gonna throw it out there. This is spoiler territory. If you haven't read it, pause this or come back when the archive is up and watch this segment. But Lois Lane straight up kills Lex Luthor, straight up kills Batman, just murdering folks. And I was like, this is ridiculous. She has super best powers and she's running around killing everybody. How is this even? This is not kosher. I don't like this, but I'm gonna go along with it.
Remember, it's the dark
I know.
multiverse. Everybody is jacked up, right? Everybody has made bad choices. Some of them have died. What surprised me though, because I didn't know, you don't know where the book is going to go.
No.
But so when she got her powers from the Eradicator said he failed to save Superman, right?
Right.
And so I thought we were just going to move forward. And then Superman in the black costume showed up, and I was like, oh shit. If she would have just waited, if the bitch would have just waited another couple of days, everything would have been okay.
Right.
But
Right.
she had to get all acrimony and just go all in. And look, I'm not mad at her for killing Lex Luthor. Some people got to die, right? I'm
Well.
not go kill the toy man, kill all them, but killing Batman,
Well. All right. So
Batman would not have killed her.
no, but this is the conversation that again, a conversation we've had. I don't remember if it was on episode or if it was off air or whatever. But if Batman was doing his job, these people would not still be around. If he was actually saving Gotham, it's been what 60 years. He can't stop these supervillains, these criminals. So along comes a very angry Lois Lane with some Superman powers, and she's gonna fucking just murder everybody.
I'm okay with murdering the villains. Go if you gotta kill the Joker, kill his ass. I'm not mad with that. We need a good Punisher cat that
Right.
Superman can't stop in the DC universe anyway. I was hoping Lobo would be that guy. You know what I mean? Because you can't really hold Lobo, right?
Yeah.
But
Kind of
you know,
reminds me
look,
of Vigilante, which is
I
another
agree.
DC character that I liked back in the day.
I also want to reiterate Batman is a failure. Batman, you gotta think about it. Supposedly one of the top superheroes of all time, yet it is not safe to walk the streets of Gotham.
No.
That means he's failed. He has traded 72 different Robins. I don't know how many of them died and came back, and all these people that are Bat adjacent, and still Gotham is not safe. You either got to nuke Gotham, right? But then you let Batman be part of the Justice League and make these decisions that affect the entire world, but he can't even handle his own neighborhood, right?
Right.
That being said, it's still not okay to kill Batman. It's just not,
Yeah.
right? And don't think that Superman didn't consider it, right? Because when you look at him on the power of Superman, all this power, whatever, this guy just has money and determination, is really getting hurt out there, and really, doesn't have, because he is failing, right? Doesn't really have what it takes to do this. He should be, someone needs to retire him, and Superman could do that, but he won't.
Right.
But and maybe it's the fact that Batman said, "I won't stop."
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe that's what tipped her over. But everybody else she murdered, I was totally cool with the murder. I was totally cool. Yep, yep. Kill that Joker. Yep, get him.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
uh,
I was gonna say we don't know if Joker dies or not. There's no panel actually showing his death, but it's
well,
implied that she kills
there's
him.
probably three Jokers anyway, so he just kill one of them.
Yeah.
But all in all, again, the issue came up for me was that was she ever really? Did she ever drink Superman's Kool-Aid? Was she really down with how he saw the world, or did she just tolerate that? Like I know better than him. He's just Smallville. He doesn't really know.
Well, yeah, I was gonna bring that up. I think that's sort of a sticking point. It's a consistent sort of plot device that they use. Is the dichotomy between the way Lois Lane sees the world and the way that Clark Kent sees the world, and
Mm-hmm.
it's their different perspectives that sort of make the couple work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. However, does that mean that she is one step away from killing folks
I
as
think
soon as Superman is
I
gone?
think so.
She is
Yeah.
always on the. Oh man! So the worst thing that can happen is not for Lois Lane to die, but for Superman to die. Because we got that whole unjust. Oh, that's right. There is a parallel universe that works. We got the whole injustice universe, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Over Lois Lane dying.
Yeah.
Right? Did you see that they brought He-Man into that?
No, I didn't even know. I thought wasn't He-Man Mattel?
It's DC Universe. They
Okay.
brought him in, and he may be Mattel, but he's part of the mythos. I remember the DC comics where Superman went to Eternia to visit. I don't know, to visit or they fell into the universe or whatever to visit He-Man, and even on the cover, because covers are always lying, right? In the cover, I'm fighting against He-Man, and he might actually be able to kill me. You know, and, but there is an upcoming Eternia universe comics where they're going to be parallel He-Men that have to stop Skeletor, and the only one that may stop them is an actual Skeletor from another universe that may be able to stop this evil Skeletor. I want to read that book.
I might check it out.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll see. Maybe it'll make it to Corner Comics one day.
All right. Do we want to pick another random one, or you want to go with my second pick?
Let's pick a random. Let's pick one. Let's pick because I really am interested in this book. Let's pick Animosity.
Okay. So yeah, this is Emmanuel's second pick, Animosity Aftershock Comics. My initial thoughts is George Orwell, or yeah, it's George Orwell, sort of on psychedelics. It's Animal Farm on steroids. It's highly interesting because I don't know what caused this? Why do the animals? Why did the animals awaken? Is it divine? Is it like what is
We don't know.
Yeah,
Uh, so to give a quick summary, the world is as you know it, and then one day the animals wake up, like their intelligence is human levels, and they remember everything that happened to them as if they were always intelligent,
right,
right? So they remember their whole life, even though they weren't intelligent before, they just do. And then what are their loyalties? And if pigeons were intelligent, what would they do with that intelligence? And can we eat bacon anymore? Right? Because pigs probably not down with being slaughtered, right? So the whole thing is first like the birds. It's like the animals are going crazy and they're killing people,
right.
right? I like they had the tiger in there to make me think Shere Khan from the Jungle Book.
Yeah, that's yeah,
I was right, and then I liked this dog that was there for this little girl because she was always there for him, and he can't shake that loyalty. He just loves her and will do whatever, live his whole life to serve her because of who she was for him for his whole life.
right.
So, and then what happens when you're in New York and the rats are have a say and they have guns and they're willing to kill behind that because animals are savage by nature in theory, right?
Yeah,
Uh, uh, and then what happens to the economy? Where do people get food from, right? Can you milk cows anymore, or do they need to get paid? And is there a minimum wage, right? Do you have to pay chickens for their eggs because chickens have to pay rent,
right.
right? And so what happens? And then what happens if you have who's the mayor of New York now?
I have no idea.
So let's say we have a Republican Trump-ish type mayor, and the animals are demanding equality, and you got Trump in office. What are they going to do? You can't, right? You already know this is going to be blood and carnage, right? Because there's no,
Right.
uh, uh, you know, Trump will probably say, "Go back to the farm" or something, something crazy like that. So uh, the straight up murder for the animals we're doing, the straight up killing, and then the straight up certain animals, a lot less than you might think, change some of their loyalty to humans, and then some were just sort of out for themselves. Like you got to think, rabbits don't want to get eaten, but they ain't bringing milk either. So how do rabbits survive in this kind of world? How do they have a say? And all of that, how all of that might turn out, just made me love it because it kept raising questions like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I want to know. And I don't know. And oh my goodness, this was amazing. I never thought of this. And I want to know more. So this book made me want to read more. This book was amazing to me. I laughed. There were times when my heart broke a little bit. All in the same book. You don't really get that in one issue. And this book did
Not a
it.
lot. Yeah.
The art was decent. It wasn't amazing, but it didn't take me out of the conversation at all. It's a great premise. I don't know why it wasn't done before, and they spoke English, by the way. So that was another thing. Like, do they speak English? Do Russian horses speak Russian? You know what I mean? Do
Probably.
they speak the language? And here's the thing: how did they learn? They knew concepts like loyalty and all that. They don't learn that just by listening to the language. So
Uh,
their intelligence increased, but there's something else going on because it's like they all went to school to at least learn these concepts. Their English wasn't great,
right.
the I and the pronouns. But how do you know what loyalty is? How do you know what compassion is just by watching humans and you're a chicken?
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's something here, and I want to know what that is, but I also want to know what happens to the world where animals are players. So we start sending chickens to space. You know what I mean? Who gets their own colonies? We got a chicken colony on Mars. We got, a rabbit colony on Venus, whatever. And they do fit in spaceships better. So maybe we can get a whole. So I want to see all that info. I want this to be an animated series. I want this to be everything.
It's
So
yeah,
I love this book. 2 thumbs up for me.
definitely. It's kind of funny. The one of the first pages is there's rats attacking this janitor, I guess,
Yeah.
And the dialogue boxes, as I was looking at the dialogue boxes, and it's like, die you bastard, die die die, you know, and it's the rats like eating into this guy, and I was like,
Yeah.
is that the rats talking?
Yeah, at first I didn't get that, right? At
No.
first I was like, why would the rats be saying that? Maybe someone messed up the dialogue boxes. It wasn't until after I finished the book and came back to it that I got the rats were just repeating what he was doing when he was killing them.
Right, right. And then the next page though is like a regular dialogue page, and it gives you some statistics and things. But it's one of the last lines on that page um, that I love, and it says, "And since we got the data from animals, who knows? Maybe they're fucking liars."
Yes, yes. I did like that.
That so that's where I get the Orwell comparison, right? The Animal Farm comparison.
Hmm.
Um, like, yeah, maybe they are just like humans. They're, you know, so
And are they and again, we don't know what device raised their awareness.
yeah, we
We
have
don't know if they are being humanized or if that is their true nature coming to the forefront. We don't know any of it, right? Because you obviously going to have to read, and it's not in the second book because I read that one too because I
okay.
had to.
Yeah,
I
the other interesting question too is when this level of sentience comes to occur, is there immediately violence?
oh, because it's world changing, and how do you if you are an animal and you are now aware and you don't love your master, how do you survive? And you have to do it now. There's an urgency, right?
Okay.
Like if you come home from work and you find that when you come into your home, you are already there. There's another you there.
Right.
How do you? And he's saying it's his house because he is you. So what do you do? And in some cases, one of y'all got to die, right? Because you got to think, I'm not living on the street. What is this? This is my house. What am I going to fight for? So imagine that scenario.
Okay.
And then he's thinking, it's not going to be two of us,
Right.
right? So, and I know how evil this other guy is because I am him. One of us got to go. So if you're an animal, why not? Another thing that interests me is I used to have hamsters when I was a kid,
Okay.
and I went through all this trouble trying to get them to breed. And I remember the first time that my hamster had 12 babies, right? And I went and looked in the cage, and I saw the mother biting the head off of one of them. And when I saw that here, I was like, oh, so because there's a lot of panels with no words, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of panels that are showing weird stuff that makes you think, right?
Yeah.
And then when you come back to that panel and the other baby hamsters were like, and then the mother is now aware and it goes back to eating the baby. And then the baby's like, oh my God, she's evil, right? Oh shit, maybe she is, right? And you would never even, and when the cow says, please don't kill me, when they're trying to, all these things, like each of these could be almost their own book in the universe. There could be the
Yeah.
book of chickens. There could be the book of, of hamsters, or the book of dog. And they could all be their own series, and I would read them,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I don't know where they are now or how well this series is doing or how well it was received. I didn't get to research that, but there's so much here. This is why I read comics. I walked away with some feels, and I want to do that when I buy a comic. You know what I mean? I buy a comic. When you go see a good movie, you want to walk away with some feels,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And not just pissed off because it was terrible. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So this book for me, the art was there. The art, I said, remember, the art wasn't terrible, but the art told the story very well. The conveyance of the story, of the emotion of the characters, very well. So whoever the artist was, uh, uh, him telling the story was kind of amazing. And I don't know who to attribute that to, or if it was written that way. But and then the story. I want to know more. There's so many different stories here. I want to like, is this cow going to be in the next issue, or is this cow just here for now? And what about that iguana? And what about the killer whale? And what about the what about the pigeons? Because there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
And I want to know more. So this book, 2 thumbs up. I don't know what you give it, but it's got my praise.
Yeah. Definitely 2 thumbs up. I think it's 24 issues right now, and I think they just came out with the 24th issue. So it's been going for 2.5, 3 years now,
Now I can
depending on
see
how long they've.
myself. I can see myself gifting the graphic novel of this to someone.
Yeah, I don't know how many issues the first story arc is, but I'm sure the first trade probably has the full first story arc.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But so yeah, and even I would say this is a buy. Like if you were looking for something to buy, this issue number one, and you were in the comic shop, I say this story here, what it gives you, is worth the $5. It's a buy. It's still a great book. It just is. It's just you put it on you leave it on your coffee table and somebody reads it like, oh my God, and then now you have something to talk about.
It's
Right?
yeah, well, it is Aftershock, so it's probably $3 or $4, not a full
Okay.
$5.
All right. There we go. See?
But yeah, no, this is. I think I'm probably gonna have. I'm gonna check out a few more issues of the series, and I'm probably gonna see if I can get my wife to read it because she just cannot get into the superhero thing, and that's like her biggest barrier for comic books, and the reason that she doesn't really read them. Um,
Hmm.
this is a good book for somebody who's interested or curious about comics, but can't get past the men in tights. You know,
Yeah, I'd say so.
so.
And again, this is just begging to be a series. Why is it? You know what? Netflix should do this because Netflix doesn't have to rate anything, right? They can do RG or whatever. They're not like Disney trying to keep kids safe. They could just do this,
Yeah.
right? And we will watch it.
All right, let's pick one of your issues.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Catalyst Prime, man.
All right. Now I'm just gonna sit back. You tell me what you thought.
So originally, like the first couple of pages, I was like, God, this dialogue is so corny. There's there's a few panels where um, you're being introduced to this world and these characters, and it's the first character that you get introduced to is this woman that's the CEO of a company that's the largest company on the planet or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And some of the dialogue is like, well, everyone knows who you are. I'm just like, oh my god. All right, I'm gonna power through this. And then I powered through it, and you find out about this cosmic stuff that's happened, and now people have powers. I'm like, okay, it's a little bit different take on the whole mutant thing. Basically, is kind of what my thought process was, um, and it develops quite nicely. It's actually pretty interesting. It throws in some modern stuff that you don't always see in comics. The way that people are living their lives and going about their daily business. Um, I don't know. The artwork's good. It's solid. Gail Simone, I've seen her name quite a bit in DC Comics. I've never really gotten into any of her work, um, but maybe this is the first opportunity that she has to really do her own thing.
So I want to say about Gail Simone has been in the game for a long time.
Yeah,
So that may be why you're kind of like, this is, and she does do a lot of DC, but she also did some Deadpool. She also did some Agent X. Let's see. I'm trying to see because I had to pick. I can't find a whole lot of Marvel. She's the Red Sonja. Uh, but mostly her stuff is DC. So I get that there's maybe a little corniness, I've sort of seen this before, you know,
yeah.
but but I didn't want to interrupt you. I did. But do you have more, or do you want me to move forward?
That was kind of it. I like, and I put this in the show notes. I like that the diversity in the book is not forced.
Yes,
The,
that was huge for me too.
yeah, because a lot of the times I feel like they're coming up with these things like, well, what can we do? Let's have a handicapped gay person, and we're gonna force it on this character that we've already got. It's like, why? That's so just to make a character who happens to be these other things, and this is how
Yes,
they experience life.
yeah. Don't let whatever disability or alternative lifestyle. Don't let that be the story.
Right,
Let that be
exactly.
something that's happening in the story.
Yeah,
Uh,
which is exactly what I got out of this book, and I thought that was very cool. And this is I think it's good because it's a book that a kid could pick up, and just like for years, I didn't realize that Hardware was black until you brought that up. You're like, this is a milestone book. He's black. I was like, I don't remember him being a black character, dude.
I'm actually happy that you saw it that way because it doesn't have to be that he's black. I think we talked about this before off screen where the CW shows,
Right.
right? I'm okay with Arrow, I'm okay with Flash, but then we got Supergirl, and the biggest thing about the Supergirl universe is I Am Woman. There's so much I Am Woman that I don't really care about
Right.
the other stuff,
Right.
right? Because every episode, I'm a woman, I'm feeling, and I need to, and I'm like, stop going through the woman specific journey and go through the journey and be a woman while you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I looked at Black Lightning, which is the I Am Black. It's so leaned into the blackness, so much more than the hero part
Right.
of it.
Right.
And it keeps doing that. And I'm black. I like the black conversation, but there's some preachiness there that I'm not really trying to watch a show that's trying to preach to me. Just tell me a great, entertaining story.
Right.
And if they're going through some things that are unique for them, that's cool, but don't make that the story. Don't make that I'm black, I must survive and all. Don't make every single good character one race. So I don't know if you got to read because I had the I don't know, was there a part after where they and after it
Um, I don't remember
where
that.
they sort of talk about the conversation of people that are making this about the sort of the what Lion Forge is trying to do with their superhero universe.
I read a little bit of it. I skimmed through it. I didn't read the whole thing. So,
So one good thing about it is that each of these characters, when you find a superhero in there, they like put their name in some kind of crazy font to let you know this is a named hero. Well, each of these characters actually has their own book out already.
Oh, that's cool.
And some of them are more than 20 issues in. So if there's a character here that you like that you want to know more about, there's a book with their name on it that you can go read. So it's kind of like almost like a creator-owned conversation where everyone sort of has their own thing, but this brought them together.
Yeah.
I like that. Like there's one guy in the book, he shows up in one panel called Quinn Credible.
Yeah, I do.
And Quinn Credible has his own book. And the thing about Quinn Credible is he's a teenage kid, and it's reinventing Spider-Man. We're always trying to reinvent Spider-Man, right? Or reinvent, and now we're trying to reinvent Miles Morales.
Right.
And so he, his only one power is he is indestructible. He doesn't have super strength, super speed, any sensory capabilities. He can't run faster than a normal human. Still got to lift weights to get strong, but he can't be killed. And how do you become a superhero like that when someone can say chain you up and you can't break free?
Right.
That sort of thing. So each of these characters, if you're interested in the story of how they got their powers, how they came to be, remember how Marvel started with the individual heroes and worked their way up to Avengers?
Yeah.
And DC tried to start with Justice League and work their way down. This one, they actually did try to work their way up. This is the first book that brings them all together. And they do guest star in each other's books from time to time, but this is the secondary event. And I'm looking at in my head all these other universes that Marvel and DC have tried to create. There was always one event, right? And DC used to do them almost annually. One event that created all the superheroes or a whole bunch of superheroes or a bunch of new heroes. So in this universe, one event started the process of all the creation of all these heroes.
Right.
And they all have their own stories. They all know each other or not. Some of them are smarter than others. Some of them are whatever. Some of them were scientists. So some of them were direct. Some of them were adjacent. Some of them were mistakes. All these other different things. But when you look at, I don't know if you remember, Marvel did something called the New Universe, where they invented Star Brand.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it. It was.
Yeah, so it was a regular Earth, and then something happened. And then all these other characters, they had their own X-Men that were kind of like had janky powers and all of that. So I think that is the way you start a universe, is you have an event, right? I mean,
Okay.
how do you can't just you can later on say, well, here are some people that, because if we were going to make it like our world, we're going to need an event to start activating people, right?
Okay.
Something that activate powers. If you
Right.
wanted to make it like, so if we're going to have it, there's got to be some. All of a sudden, there's special different color sunspots on the Earth, and people are popping up on our Earth with mutant powers. And now we have a superhero universe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of them change, some of them change internally. Then there's some that have always been there. Like there are people that can read minds, but they keep it to themselves, that sort of thing. So this is the second event. One event created the universe. This event brings them together, and they may not have known each other otherwise. So I think, as to if you're looking for a new universe, it's still capes. There's still powers.
Yeah.
Uh, that woman that you didn't like in the beginning, she's basically Lex Luthor.
Well, all right, yeah. So the comment that I was gonna make was you don't know if she's Lex Luthor and Xavier, or one or the other, or both combined, which is kind of
And
interesting.
yeah, and I think maybe it's good that they don't tell you right away, because you their job is to make you want more.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So would I read this book? Yes, it's obviously the greatest stepping on point to an entire new universe. And then every one of these characters, if you pick one that you like and identify with, you can actually go and read a whole series based on that one character that is still in canon to this.
well, and the other good thing too, I didn't know that uh, there were other series, or other ongoing issues with these other characters,
Hmm.
and it still tells a cohesive beginning to these characters. So like I didn't need to go back through and try and learn a bunch of lore before jumping into this, which was nice.
Yeah, I like that too. And then it wasn't so much happening that you're just like, I don't get any of this. You're not there
Yeah,
either.
yeah,
Right? So Noble, which is sort of the main guy, I think he's just telekinetic. So he's basically Phoenix. In theory, he's the closest thing to Superman in this universe.
okay.
Like the level of his telekinetics are that great. But he's also an astronaut. He's also really, really smart. And and of course, people are trying to control him, because if you're Lex Luthor and people with powers, you need your own group working for you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, but there's some characters that I hadn't seen before, like the Speedy guy. I knew he existed, but I never read any of his books. And so, again, that's one of the things I liked, is that here is I could read any of these, and I think if someone reads the book, they're not going to know that you can go back and pick one of these heroes and read all of their books. Cosmosis is really interesting, because Cosmosis, he's only one panel. He's autistic.
Okay.
So he's an autistic dude with powers that's trying to fight crime, but he still has the issues that they may have. And he looks, I guess, mongoloid. I don't know the right way to say, certain
Fine.
people with certain challenges
Yeah.
look a certain way. And he looks like that. And he's dealing with that. And he's still trying to fight crime. There's some of these people are in jail. Some of them, it's interesting to each of these stories. And yes, there is a lot of diversity, meaning not white male.
Right.
And most of these books are not white male, but it's not preaching not white maleness.
No, it's
You know what
it's
I mean? It's just, this is a person in this situation
yeah.
that happens to have this challenge or this issue, or they're a woman or whatever. And not all of them are not white either. So there's that. So was it as amazing as the other book we just talked about? No. But uh, I'm thinking, once this is in graphic novel form or trade form, this is going to be a great complete story that you can then move forward into other. I think it's a good way entry point into this universe.
Yeah, and this is the first issue. It just came out this last month, right, in October.
Yes,
So
exactly.
perfect time.
And Gail Simone been in the game for a while, so get it right.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
And the art wasn't bad either.
No, the art was good. The art was
It kind of looked like a DC book of the 90s.
yeah, I could see that. I don't. Yeah, I don't really know that I have a comment. There wasn't anything stylistically that really stuck out for me.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm with you there.
the panels moved like a normal comic book. There was nothing like spectacular that they did with that. Um, the expressions on the faces were pretty good. Sometimes you run into issues where it's like characters will say something or whatever, and like the face doesn't quite match. That's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
off-putting to me.
Hmm.
But this one,
So it's serviceable, no faults. It
no,
does carry the story,
yeah,
uh, and it's not doesn't take you out of the story.
no, and
So yeah,
it feels like a lived-in universe. Like they're actually in these places where they're supposed to be. Unlike my comment about the Batman Superman book we did a couple weeks ago, where it just felt empty.
yeah.
I know you can run into that sometimes, but this was good. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll read the next one when it comes out.
Okay. So next book.
Do we want to jump into my second pick,
Yeah,
uh,
let's go into your second pick.
so we can get it out of the way? Because I know you didn't like it.
Yes, but I need to explain myself, so there's an opportunity
All
here.
right. So my second pick was Uncanny Avengers Annual #1. This book came out, I want to say 2012 or 2013. It's an older book.
Hmm.
Um, the reason that I picked it was sort of to go along with the voice in my head when I picked up the Death of Superman book. It was like, just let people play with the toys. I was going back through because when I was in the shop, I was talking to the owner, and we were going over like, yeah, right now is kind of the season for annuals. A lot of publishers put out their annual books for all the major issues, and I was going back through my collection. I was like, well, what's one annual that's sort of a self-contained story that I might be able to throw up on the list that I liked, and so that was this one. Um, Rick Remender. I love Rick Remender. He's an amazing writer. Paul Renaud is a decent artist. And Uncanny Avengers Annual 1 is the story of. It's a Mojo World story where Mojo is pitching these ideas for different shows, and the superheroes are sort of caught up in that. Um, so that's my pitch.
Okay. So here's my thing. First of all, the book looks amazing, right?
Yeah.
The book I really like the art. This is not an artist I normally follow, but the art pops. Uh, uh, there's so much clarity and the facial expressions and all the things that happen. There's not everything. Even if you just look at the picture of the mansion behind them, you look at that detail. There's a lot of detail,
Yeah.
right? The full on, uh, uh, you know, uh, uh, artistically great looking book. That being said, uh, I feel like the writing is terrible. I feel like it's I feel like no character act like theirs that how they normally act in the comics.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like everybody was even before Mojo got involved. I feel like everybody was acting like someone who was trying to summarize X-Men and Avengers for a soap opera, even before it became a soap opera,
Okay.
right?
All right.
So when I see Doctor Strange attacking the Avengers, come on,
Well,
right?
I think the whole premise is they're already in the
In
Mojo,
the Mojoverse,
yeah,
okay.
to begin with, so that's why they're acting all weird.
And then all this meta, you're like, all this meta, like, this is how we sell the story, and we need to have this angst and all this. Stop telling me how you write a book, dude, and write the book. It's so much of all this other stuff that didn't interest me, right? Like, I'm not really reading this book to see how you make an animated series out of the X-Men. Just stop, and then the politics behind it. And I know that's Mojo. That's what you bring when you do Mojo.
Right.
But it was so much uh, uh, the characters how they're created to act in this